Don't forget to subscribe to Panda Outdoors. Do it now.
Okay folks, welcome to another episode of Panda Outdoors and 4x4s. This playlist I'm going to put together is just some basic 4x4 / vehicle maintenance. So whether you're into your being self-sufficient and a little bit more prepared, some basic car maintenance that you can do yourself with a minimal toolkit. As well, on this playlist I'm going to go through a few little tools, do a video on a few little tools that everybody should have. Just basic little toolkit that you can do some change your brake pads, do some basic jobs around the house and stuff like that. So yeah, stay tuned. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a set of front pads on the Land Rover Discovery 3. I will do a little walk around video with this Land Rover and explain why I've gone for this and not the D1 anymore. So I will do a video of that. It's just having the time to do it. But yeah, so stay tuned. Let's get cracking, and I will. You've already seen a video of me taking the wheel off. So I'll get the wheel off and show you how to change the pads. So stay tuned, and we'll bring you back in a second. Okay, so it's just jacked up on the chassis. Wheel nuts all removed. There is a video on how to take a wheel off on my channel. If you're unsure, I'll leave it in this playlist as well. So the wheel's off. So what you want to do is locate your brake fluid reservoir and just take the lid off it. Okay, so there's no pressure in the system, because when you're pushing the pistons back in a second, if it's been overfilled, it just gives it room to escape, so it doesn't put any pressure on any of your seals. On the Disco 3, it's just under this cover, just here on the driver's side of the vehicle. Okay, so let's get to it. I'll set the camera up and I'll show you exactly what I'm doing. So all I'm doing is I'm replacing these front brake pads. So I'm going to need a big screwdriver. I think it's a ratchet with a 13mm on it and a 15mm spanner just to lock the back of it off. Very simple job that you can do yourself. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo the bolts, lift the caliper up, and then I'm going to use a pair of big water bump pliers to push the caliper back. You can use a screwdriver and get it in this gap here and pull it back, but for some reason I can't seem to get the screwdriver in enough to push it back. So I'm just going to use a pair of water bump pliers, but most cars you can do is just get a pair of screwdrivers in and push them in. Some cars might have a clip around the edge locating the caliper in place. If you do, just take a picture of it before you start so you know how it goes back on. Okay, so I'm just going to get my 13mm on the undo position and just... Okay, so now that's spinning. I need to get a spanner on it and just stop it from spinning. Okay, so I need to go and get myself... That's a 17. I need to go and get myself a 19mm spanner, so I'll be back in a second with a 19mm. Okay, so I haven't got a spanner that's skinny enough to fit between the gap. So all I'm using is a little set of mole grips just to stop it spinning. Okay, and as I say, it doesn't have to be on tight, it's just to stop the actual carrier spinning while you're removing the 13mm nut. Okay, so nice and simple. So you're going to need a 18mm spanner, an 18mm spanner that's skinny enough to fit in there, or just a little set of mole grips or slip jaws that'll fit in, and a 13mm spanner or socket and a ratchet to get the caliper off. Okay, and then all you do is I get my screwdriver and just pop the caliper up just like that. Okay, pop the caliper up just like that, and that'll give us access to the brake pads. Then all we do, again, pop the pads out. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this pad in. So I'm going to lift this up. As you've just seen, take the pad out. And then all I'm going to do is get these bad boys and push the pistons back in. You could use a G-clamp for this if you've got a G-clamp, if you can't get the screwdriver in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the old brake pad on there and use a set of water pump pliers to just push the caliper, the piston on the caliper back in. Okay, so nice and easy, just push it in. Maybe not nice and easy. Okay, so this has just been a little bit tight going back in, so all I'm going to do is I'm just going to, on the rubber, just prise it up with a little screwdriver and just get some WD-40, or this is maintenance spray, same job, and just squirt it all in there. Again, I'm not a mechanic, so this is not probably the right way of doing it, but this is going to work. So again, a little bit of maintenance spray just inside there. Be careful when you're peeling it back not to rip the rubber or anything like that. And then same on the bottom piston, just, if you can, just get in little tiny screwdriver and just get in there, and then just spray a little bit more spray inside there. Okay, again, especially if you're working on a 4x4, WD-40 can be your friend. So again, just going to get my slip jaws on because it's a bit tight, and just push it back, and now it has started to move. Again, on the bottom one, there we go. And then again, do the top one. And then what I want to do now is just, now I've got it moving, just get the pad on it, hold it in position a second, and then I'll just get the slip jaws on and push it all back as one. Okay, so that's why I couldn't get it to move with the screwdriver, because it was tight. Okay, so I've pushed the pistons back now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean up all around here with a wire brush. I'm lazy, so I'm using a drill, but you can just use a handheld wire brush. Give everything a good clean up before I put the new pads on. Okay, so here's the brake pads here. They're only Drive Tech, I think they're called, from one of the motor factors that the garage around the back of my tyre shop uses. So get them open. So you have your, you come all wrapped. So what I'm going to do is open them up and show you now. So they do have anti-squeal pads on them, but still you want to put a bit of grease on, just the bits that are going to come in contact with the runners as well, all the way around. So just a little bit of grease, not a major. So what I like to do is just, don't have to coat it in it, you don't have to give it a bath, just all the bits that might come into contact with the caliper, just give it a tiny little bit of grease on it. Okay, and then on the back of it, just where the caliper's gonna, the piston touches and the caliper, I still grease it up. Mechanics will probably say you don't have to, but this is just the way I was shown when I was a kid how to do it. And then all I'm going to do is just pop it in. Try to make sure, well, make sure you do not get any grease onto your pad itself. Because if you get grease on your pad itself, your vehicle isn't going to break. If you get any grease on it, just give it a wipe off, or on your disc, bit of brake cleaner, and away you go. whatever, fuck them off. Fuck off. Fucking gobshite. Calipers going down nicely. They all move free. Top and bottom moves nice and free, which is what you want. Okay, so quick disclaimer on this one. The new sensor that's come doesn't really line up where it's meant to clip into the strut and stuff. I've just been speaking to one of my mates and they've said all the sensors for is it shows you when your brake pads are getting low. But since I always check my vehicle over anyway and I do basic maintenance on it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat and I'm going to do without it. So I'm going to plug it all in, loop it round and cable tie it together, and I'm just going to tuck it up into the wheel arch and cable tie it out the way so the light doesn't come on. At the end of the day, I do a lot of maintenance on my vehicle. I've always put the wheels on and off and stuff like that, so I'll be able to tell visually if my pads are low, and again I check them anyway. But if you're doing it, route it up, and if the cable doesn't fit, you can cable tie it into certain places. It just pops in up behind the wheel arch. I'm going to show you it now and show you what I've done basically. Okay, so pads all back in, that's all tightened. As you can see, the wire's not there. If you look at that cable tie there, it's just cable tied up and it's just up into the wheel arch, so it's not going to go anywhere. If you're going to do it, it loops all around, comes up here, goes up and it goes into there. But as I say, I'm doing away with it, so I don't have to have the issue of replacing it every time I change my pads, because I change my pads quite regularly, driving to Wales and stuff a lot. So yeah, so there it is. So to do this job, I'll go through now what tools you actually need to do the job. Okay, so the tools that I've used for the job, my caliper was a bit seized going back in, so either you need a big screwdriver to put in the caliper to push back, or a pair of water-bun pliers, or you can use a G-clamp. G-clamp in and wind it up onto the pad, will be fine. Then all you need is, I used a little pair of mole grips just to grip the bottom part, the runner of the caliper. Either use a spanner or a pair of grips or something like that, just to hold it in place. And then it was just, in this case, a 13mm socket onto my ratchet to do it. So I'll put a little picture up of some of the tools that you will need. And then a wire brush just to clean it all up, and some copper grease. Hope you find that a little bit interesting or whatever, or it's helped you if you're doing a set of pads. Again, I'm not a mechanic, I'm just having a go, so this may not be the right way of doing it if you went to a mechanic, but it works for me, and that's the way I do it. Yeah, I should have put the sensor back in, but in my case, it's beneficial for me to just basically blank it off, tuck it up out the way, never have to worry about it, don't have to worry about changing it when I next do my pads. At the end of the day, I'm always checking my vehicle over. Easiest way to check your pads is with a little torch and just look through the wheel. You'll be able to see whether they're low anyway, instead of lights coming on the dashboard. That's my pet hate. I can't stand lights on the dashboard. So them wires can snap and it'll tell you need brake pads when you don't. It's just your wires broke. So for me to just tuck it all up out the way, I never have to worry about the light coming on. So again, hopefully this video's been helpful on some basic maintenance you can do yourself, and putting a set of brake pads in. They're all very similar, so your caliper and your hanger is all very similar. Some of them may have springs around them, like on the old Focuses and stuff like that. Some of them may have Allen keys in the back of them with a spring on the front. Some have the runners like this with a 13mm bolt in it. Very similar. Just if they have got the spring on the front, take a little picture with your phone to remember how they go back on and just put it back on. They normally pop off with a pair of pliers or a screwdriver. But again, I hope this video's been helpful. I've been Panda, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you outdoors sometime. Stay prepared now.